Hi, my loves. How are we doing? All right, here we're back again with our Divine Feminines 101, and today I am going to be talking about how to become a retired people pleaser. So grab yourself a snack and sit down and just listen. And I'm sitting here having my pomegranates, which, by the way, are my favorite fruits, or their pomegranate seeds, okay? Again, if I sound funny, I'm sorry. I've been sick, so I've been having a hard time breathing for the past few days, so just bear with me on everything. But yeah, on this one, I'm going to really talk about essentially my story to maybe help you guys, especially if you guys are in either that funny stage in your life where you do catch yourself being a little bit too much of a people pleaser, or you want to get out of it. Maybe if you sit and listen to me ramble, you might get a little motivation. So here we go. So unfortunately for me, when I was young, really at the earliest age I could think of was probably kindergarten, first grade. Unfortunately, I've been bullied most of my childhood, really all the way up through high school. My childhood for me was pretty kind of traumatic as far as going to school. I'm going to be honest, I love school as far as learning, but I hated it because I'm sorry the kids were so mean. Don't get me wrong, I had friends growing up, but going to school and like trying to make new friends and trying to fit in was very, very uncomfortable for me. I hated it. I always got picked on for the way I looked. I wasn't like pretty enough. I wasn't a lot of things. You know how kids are. And that really kind of killed my self-esteem, which led into more problems. And that's why I'm a big person of, when it comes to children, don't bully freaking other kids, because it really leads to problems as adults, hence me a little bit. But for me, I had to get out of my own way. Okay. Now this is the part where things kind of turned into my fault. Okay. So really by the time like I was 18, 19, 20, pushing 21 years old, that's when things kind of I started really my people-pleasing tendencies. And really, actually, I take that back. My people-pleasing tendencies really started when I was a kid. I was that kid that wanted to be friends with everybody. I was begging the bullies not to bully me. I was doing the, please, I'm a nice person. Don't do this to me. Please stop calling me ugly. I swear I'm nice. I just want to be your friend. Like, shut up. You know, it's like talking to the wall right in front of me here. I wasn't getting anywhere, okay? But this is when I really thought I was stepping into my own power. And in reality, I was just pleasing a lot of people so they wouldn't pick on me, because I was afraid and suppressing who I really was, which we'll get into that in time being. So definitely, again, 18, 19, 20, 21, making friends, specifically girlfriends, was really difficult for me. And especially, I always felt like the weird kid. I was always considered like the black sheep. Like, I always thought differently. I was like always into like, I guess, my little witchy stuff, I guess you would say. I loved horror movies. I loved like dark stuff. I was just always into that. And I felt like the other women or girls were just not into that. And I got side-eyed a lot. But I decided, instead of becoming again who I was meant to become, I suppressed all that down and molded for the rest of society, right? So unfortunately, and what does that do? You attract shitty people into your life. And that's exactly what I did all through my early 20s. That's like, I got into, and again, this is my fault, not their fault. I got into drinking really bad. I like got myself into stupid situations I should have never gotten myself into. I did a lot of dumb stuff, all because I wanted like 4 women to like me. Crazy, right? Okay, I know that's wild, but unfortunately, that was the reality of my early 20s, and I was okay with that, because for the first time in my life, I had friends. I didn't care if they were good friends or if I was authentic. Didn't matter. I had friends. In my mind at the time, I was healing my my childlike self, which is kind of sad, but not the way to go about it. But this is the part where it's like an ego death kind of happened for me. Eventually, these friends kind of fell off the bandwagon. Life happens. Things just happen. We went our separate ways. Whatever. Bye. Well, what really kind of my ego death a little bit is the dating experience for me. And this was a wild ride. So 2020, I left a long-term relationship that was really, really bad. About 2021, I started to get out in the dating field a little bit, okay? When I tell you I was in the biggest rut and stuck of my life, oh my gosh. So I was going on dates with, a few people, again, just dates. Now, before I get into that, just quick backstory for me. I've been on my own since I was 18 years old. I pay for my stuff. When it comes to finances, the one thing I will flex on about myself, I've always been very independent when it comes to that. I don't rely on anybody for any money. If I'm broke, I'm broke. If I got money, I'll take care of things. I've always been that way since I was very, very young, okay? Now, I would go on dates with certain these men, and again, I didn't judge these guys, but some of these guys would say, hey, I'm still living with mom and dad, and mind you, most of these guys were older than me. Okay. And I didn't mind that, but then the second dates would come around, I would either get ghosted. And I had quite, a couple straight up text me and said, yeah, I'm just not down to date a girl that's on her own, straight up would tell me I'm too intimidating. Now, instead of letting that, boost my ego, that hurt me inside. This is how lost I was, guys, when it came to my people pleasing. I was trying to find a way in my mind to dimmy myself down to please these men. Moving forward, and then I did date, actually was in a relationship with a couple more, and they kind of in their own right pulled the same crap on me. And I was doing oh my gosh, what am I doing wrong? Why don't they like me? Why am I have to be so independent? Why am I so intimidating? I don't come off intimidating, babes. That was the lowest of low I kind of went to. It kind of got to a point with me. I didn't understand what I was doing wrong. And that was kind of my problem. It was always, well, what can I do to make you feel better? Again, talk about divine feminine. I was in my wounded feminine phase. You understand that? These men were straight up giving me the middle finger, which a divine feminine would never put up with that. They, walk away. I did not. I was sitting doing well, what can I do to make you happy? What can I do? How should I dimmy myself down to make you happy? And guess what? They still left anyways. I was in that funny spot of wanting to dimmy myself down, but I didn't want to go find better because I didn't see myself as better. So when I tell you that was a huge shadow work point for myself, and I think my breaking point was 2023 was my final straw. When I tell you it felt like I was kind of stripped, get a little bit with my bare soul doing girl, look in the mirror right there and figure out who the F you are. And what was sad is I had no idea what I was. When I tell you I couldn't figure out my personality, yes, I figured out my personality, but it got to the point I hated for me personally, how weak I was acting. Oh my gosh, what can I do to make you like me? What can I do to dimmy myself down to make you happy? Shut up. I was tired of my own BS, but I didn't know how to move forward. Even the way I dressed, guys, actually, hold on one second. This may have to go to a part 2, but here we are. This is an example right here. I think this was a picture of me for my 21st birthday. Okay, but this is kind of, every time I look at this picture, I cringe. Now, I understand when we all look back at photos of ourselves, we all have eras in our life, and there's nothing wrong with that. Believe me, I, was a blonde a few years ago. That didn't bother me too much, but this picture straight up pisses me off. I put on so much spray tan to impress a boyfriend that could care less if I was alive or at that point. You understand that this is what I'm talking about. Don't get me wrong. I looked cute. I have to say at the time, I was hot shit and I thought I was rocking the world at the time, but that's what I'm talking about. Every time I look at this picture, I wasn't having a good time. I was trying to impress a man that did not care about me. So there are certain unfortunate photos of my past that really make me cringe because all of it was trying to impress certain people that by the end of the day now are not in my life. Let's start there. And for one, that could care less to know if I'm alive or not, which again is fine, whatevers. But you know what I'm saying? Just go to part 2 so I can finish up on what I'm saying.